Yippers, you got that right. I went to the Lone Star State where everything is bigger. Alrighty, I'm talking about Texas, gosh dang it, a place where you can grab your custom gauge right here and boom, 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 boom. Shoot as much as you possibly can. What in tarnation are you doing on my land? I will do what I have to do with my Second Amendment rights type of thing. It was a beautiful thing. And you know, the funniest thing about it is going to Texas, you know, you're just like, oh yeah, let's go to a trip. Let's go have fun. Let's go to a place where everything's bigger, right? But going to Texas made me realize that there was something bigger within myself that I could unlock. Now, you know, I know what you're thinking. You know, you're like, oh, if you're new, you're like, who's this random guy on my screen? First off, you clicked on the video, you're here now, you're stuck in. But that being said, if you're really in depth with this, you want to know, why is this so meaningful to me? How can a man just go to a different state and think somehow that it changed his life? It's a beautiful thing. It made me realize something so deeper about myself. Well, that's the thing, right? The reason why is that if you watch my last video, which I mean everybody who's anybody did, I'll put it right there, I went through a lot of changes in my life. But it's 2026, 5th month in, and every single month, if you ask any of my friends, if you ask anybody who knows me personally, it's one of those things where everything has been happening. It is insane. But that's the thing. That's the reason why I wanted to get out to Texas, right? It's because everything's been happening. A lot of things have been falling apart, right? And I just was like, I need to find something new. I need to find a change, right? I need to know that there's something more out there than just Ohio. And I also wanted to know if Texas was the next step. I mean, Malik Ziegler, the TinTiger, has been known to love a good old-fashioned city. So like Dallas, the Dallas area of Texas, whatever, put on the map, right? But that being said, I was just like, okay, let me go check this out just for that sense. But even more importantly, I had a friend down there, you know? And this mother Canucker, this guy has been my friend, my dearest, closest friend for years. And the thing was, and the catch is, I never met him in person, once. 8 years. I'm talking family for years. That I was just crazy. I was going out with some freaking rando. But that being said, now that I had no family, right? No family that's like, you know, near me or whatever it may be because of what happened, the drama, right? I thought it was time to go visit Texas and figure out what's happening down there, and by golly, a lot was happening already. So I decided to get on a plane. I went down to Cleveland, Ohio, the absolute beautiful place that is. And I went down there and we hopped on a plane. One of my good friends from this place, this part of the world, right? Her name starts with a K, and I thank her dearly. She drove me down to the airport, right? And from that airport trip, it was off to the races. And actually, it's my first time on a plane at that point, right? So it was one of those things where I was getting on a plane, and I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? You know, you hear those horror stories where people are like, oh, by the way, when you're flying up in the air, the plane will shake 6 times. The pilot will flip the plane into a belly and then start flying around the world and crash into 5 mountains, and then you'll be there. And it's very scary. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's all very terrifying, fear-mongering type of thing that a lot of people like to do with planes, which is very interesting. So I just hopped on the plane, and I had all that stuff in the back of my mind, but then I threw it all out, and then I just continued to fly. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where, like, hopping in the plane, that, like, the turbulence wasn't the scariest part. No, there was not really a scary part. So if you're ever looking at, you know, looking into flying somewhere, don't be scared, guys. Honestly, that's the biggest thing you take from the video. It wasn't that scary. But to dispel all those rumors, I flew out on that plane. And as I was flying up, there was a sense of, it was just this feeling where as you get higher and higher and you're looking outside and you see the world that once was, right? Like the world around you that you've been living in your entire life, but never really was able to see it from this position, you really realize how much of an ant you truly are, right? And I always kind of knew it, but I never really understood it, right? How much of a true ant we all are. in this world. Like we have so much out there to explore, right? But a lot of us spend time so close to the ground that we're never able to truly see or like what we could really do out there, right? I was looking out the window and then the granny, you know, got her head in the way. I was like, oh, come on, granny, move. So I punched her in the face, obviously. And then I like, you know, just watched outside the window. And it was one of those things where I was just like, wow, you know, it's insane. That really does encapsulate a lot of the trip. Going there, it's like, it's so big, but so small. It's all so big and so small. So as we fly out there and we go, you know, I land in Texas and I get off the plane, walking around, I'm like, this is freedom, you know? Because now I'm away from all the things that was bothering me before. But I'm in a new place. And looking at that new place, it's different, you know? Everything's more like orange, red, and like, you know, whatever the crap. Warmer colors in Texas, and the vegetation out here, you're probably gonna look around me, and you see the grass, the green grass, and the green trees, and the brown wood, you know? And in Ohio, there's not that much, you know, vegetation changes. Everything's really just made to survive the winter if it's winter, and made to survive the heat if it's hot. So you get like the basics, right? In Texas, you get a lot of vegetation because oftentimes, more often than not, it's actually warm in Texas, it's hot, or whatever it may be. And that's one thing that people always think about. It's like one big giant desert. Like when I was younger, I used to think about Texas and I was like, oh, it's just a big desert with cowboys and sheriffs and walking around like this. What in tarnation have you got there? And then they pull up their boats and then they give a good shoot. You know what I mean? Like that's like what exactly I imagined from Texas. And then a dead guy on the floor at 12 o'clock noon. It's like, that's what I imagined from Texas, but getting there was kind of like an extension. It almost felt like, it felt new, but it did feel familiar, you know? And then it was time to go out and, you know, wait for my friend at the bus, or I guess the stop, the airport stop, or whatever it may be, where they do the pickups. And going out there, and I sat down, and I waited, and I waited. And it was a lot of waiting, honestly. It was like I think I waited there for like 30 minutes. And eventually, they arrived. And it was so interesting because as soon as he pulled up, I was imagining in my head this kind of big dap up. Because this is 8 years in the making, man.
You son of a...
This is 8 years of pure friendship, unbridled friendship, all on Xbox, where we're gaming all the time. And I get out, and I'm walking up, and the motherfucker opens the door, and he gives me a dap up. He's like, come on, let's go. I'm tired, now let's go. You know, that's basically how it goes. And we end up driving back home, right? It was interesting, because it's a dichotomy, okay, if that's the right word. It's a contrast, where, you know, the expectation versus reality. And during the time, I was imagining some tearful reunion where we're finally back in the game. But no, there wasn't no tearful reunion. It was just a bro, like,
fantastic.
You know what I mean? Powerful, but still, it wasn't something magical, you know? Magical. That's another thing. Reality is just one of those things where you can look at this situation in the moment and be like, oh, that was lame. With the crap that ruined a perfectly good moment. But in that situation, dude, there's no point. The biggest thing is looking in hindsight, the rearview mirror, as much as anticlimactic as I thought it was in the moment, looking back, I felt like that was one of the most realist moments in there, is the fact that it was just, boom, we're here. And it was like we continued, like we were friends for years and years and years. And we always knew each other in person. But the thing is that we never met in person. But that being said, we still knew each other as friends for so long that it was just casual. It was as if we loaded into a new game, with new avatars and just started the game. It was funny, it was funny.
Honestly, this is my first rodeo.
This isn't his though.
First? It's like my probably 10th or so.
10th rodeo?
Anyway, so
Yeah,
your guys are still wet, bro.
Dude, it doesn't matter.
Literally a little moisture will dry with the air.
TinTiger here can officially say to you that this ain't my first rodeo, and mean it, because guess what? I had 2 rodeos in Texas, man. 2 back-to-back ones. And I was rodeoing it up. I'm just joking. I wasn't on a bull or I wasn't on a horse, but I saw a lot of bulls and horses, but a lot of riders off them. It was a grand old time. The first night we came over there, it was like, okay, you know, we showed up, did the whole 9 yards, okay. You know, I was in a gym outfit, so I was out of place, right? Like, I'm gonna show you a little video of me absolutely crapping the bed while playing golf. This guy. What is that? No! I can't even hit it in the hole. And how did I miss that? See, and I had to tell him to cut the recording because of that, because guess what? That was so embarrassing, right? But I was wearing that to the rodeo. And here's a couple things of the rodeo. I don't know exactly what I have, but that being said, here, boom, boom, and boom, right? It was beautiful, right? You got the girls in the truck, you got the people, like the whole 9 yards on the truck, like the thing. It was a nice rodeo. And then, of course, there was the gunslinging. Okay, I don't know if I can show this on YouTube, right? I don't know. Okay, but that being said, let's just say, okay, there was no, like, they're all toy guns. Okay, they're toy guns, and I shot toy guns, which we nerfed it up. We were nerf for nothing. Look at this, nerf for nothing, nerf for nothing, nerf for nothing. It was so cool. It was so cool. I don't know if YouTube's gonna allow me to say non-toy guns. I don't know what their thing is, but that being said, I'm gonna throw them in there. Look at that. Do you see this? And then you see the form. Okay, I was a little bit like this for one of them, but that being said, it was amazing. But the big thing is, you know, as that was like the pretty much almost ending of the trip, right? And after that portion of the trip, I started to think, you know, and it was this remarkable feeling of, I guess like one part was sadness because I had to go, of course, you know, I couldn't just like stick around and stay, but there was also this acknowledgement that I knew I had to go. You know, I had to go because I had so many things that are unresolved. You know, so many things I still have to do in Ohio. You know, and I still had to return to the fray, right? And then there was this feeling that something was missing. You know, a lot of times in video games, you know, you guys are working automatically just as soon as you spawn in to work together, right? You're all automatically zoomed in on an objective, right? Whatever that may be. If it's in 7 days, your goal is to survive the zombie apocalypse. If you're in Call of Duty, of course, depending on the mode, your just goal is to win. But in life, the goal is never so clear defined. So I think one of the sad parts about it, and one of the things I started thinking about deeper, was the fact that I just felt like I didn't have as much of a goal with my friend, right? Good guy, great guy, right? But there was just no goal. Like, he's going his way in his life, and I'm going my way. I was just sitting there, and I was like, you know, I always thought that it would be like this kind of team effort in life. Like, I would have this teammate on my side, whether it was a girl or a guy or something. It was gonna be like a teammate of some sort. And one big part was I was kind of just gobsmacked that I have to do it alone. You gotta do it alone. And what does that mean, truly? What does it mean to truly do something alone? That doesn't mean, oh, I'm gonna cut off everybody around me and never talk to anybody while I'm working on what I'm working on. No, this means something deeper. It means how you look at life needs to be from both an opening area, an open mind to everybody, but also from an understanding that at the end of the day, the only person you have is, if you believe in God, the man up above, which I truly do believe. But if you don't, or if you need to understand, it's also that you only have yourself. As a person, the only person you have is you. And that was something that I had to come to terms with. And of course, I did it in the middle of the trip. So there was a couple moments where I was just solemnly looking off in the distance, just like a PTS patient. It was just like PTSD. But that being said, it's still one of those things where gotta do it alone. And that brings me to my next point. Going to Texas, going to this whole story and going out here, I had this mindset that I would automatically understand or, arrive, actually bigger word, arrive to the position or the situation that I actually wanted to be in, which is the person I wanted to be, right? Subconsciously deep down, I thought that if I would arrive into Texas, I'd be the person I want to be. It's one of those things where I thought that, going to a bigger place would automatically transform me into a bigger person, but that's the problem. Sorry, someone wanted to wave me. But that's the problem. You don't become a bigger person by going to bigger places. Ohio, like that, I've always thought that, I was, the person I am today was tied to Ohio, right? The smaller person I was, or smallest person I have become or am or trying to get away from, was tied to Ohio. That'll never be something more unless I was tied to a different place, but that's the thing. That's not how things work, right? You create who you truly want to be, wherever you are. You create them, right? And moving to a bigger place will only make you more of what you already are. And I realized that through the journey, looking around. I always thought of myself as a very charismatic man, and guess what I am, right? We all are, in some respite. But the thing is that going down there, I was a lot more timid. And that's because I was in a new environment, and I was trying to act this new way, and I thought that somehow the name tag that I had for myself would just dissipate and disappear. But it doesn't disappear just because you move to a different place. It disappears as you unravel the name tag that's wrapped around your body, that's slapped all over your places as you rip them off, right? That's how it goes away, right? From here, from numero uno, And as I flew off, right, I said, it was a sad day going away from Texas, but it was a necessary one, where time and time again during that journey, during that moment, I continued to look back and I was like, I'm gonna miss this, right? People say it's hot, but I like the heat, This bigger place, a lot of opportunity. It's so cool, I'm gonna miss this, right? But I knew still that as I went back, right, from this short trip, I still had a lot of things that I had to grow from, that I had to change about myself, that I had to grow into. But as I flew off the second time, right, this time actually in a nicer plane. It was actually a very nice plane. There was smoke coming out of the sides. It was a Frontier or whatever the frick, but yeah, as I stepped into the second plane and finally flew off, man, I looked off and watched the ground fade away once more. As we flew higher and higher away from Texas, bye-bye Texas. Once again, I saw the same scenery of the place being so small. And I realized it's a bigger place. A lot of opportunity, and someday I'll be back, and someday I'll be living there, doing everything that I was destined to do there. But today, I'm doing me. And I'm going to create the person that can handle that. And that's the thing, we all can create the person that can handle that type of change. Sometimes, people are gonna tell you, oh, you should just stay to the rivers and the lakes that you're used to. And I know I was just telling you kind of something a little bit similar, but that being said, sometimes you need to step out and see the world to understand how small a thinker you truly were. I truly were. I, Malik Ziegler, when all his neurological strength, the TinTiger, and all his superior mindsets, superior ability. I was thinking too small. And as I flew away, I realized it's all just one world. And environment does not matter, okay? Whoever needs to hear this, environments does not matter, right? What are you making yourself into? We're all like clay. We're all like tin. Malleable. Moldable. When combined with something, it can grow into a better material. What are you turning yourself into? Okay, that's the question of the day. So, I say understand this, right? There's two things that can be true. These two statements are true at the same time, okay? And I'm about to state them for you. First statement right here, right? New environments can transform the way you think about the world. Simply, that's the period. There's a fly in my hair. That's the period, right? That's a simple one to understand. But at the same time, your standards has to rise to the environments you wish to stay, to the journey you wish to walk down, to the world you wish to see, right? You can change the environment and you can also change your standards. The thing is that you can be anywhere in the world, right? Your mind sets how you set your mind, your whole 9 yards. That's really what matters. And if you don't raise your standards to the life you want to live, then how the heck can you ever expect your life to be what you want it to be, right? It takes a lot of grit. It takes a lot of understanding. But I urge you, if you even had a thought in your mind, if you wanted to take a flight somewhere and you were like, okay, you know what, I'm normally a normal person, I normally just sit down and like, wait things out or whatever it may be, and you were thinking about taking a flight somewhere out there, but then you talked yourself out of it, this is your sign to talk yourself back in. Because let me tell you, the change of environment can be the change of everything, right? And the mindset of the TinTiger nowadays is a lot better because of that, right? Because I was able to see the world, because I was able to see how small my place in was it, and how big my effect could be because of it. So, in closing, the world you want is out there. Okay? The world you dreamed about is 100% out there, waiting for you to knock on its door and open it, right? I went to a different environment, realized the vastness of that said environment, and realized the direction, realized the path forward. But the thing is that I went back to Ohio. I went back to Ohio not to backtrack and fall back into old-fashioned types of ways of living and breathing. I went to Ohio because it's my home, of course, but also because it's the training ground for my future. This right here, this soil that you see around me, this is where the TinTiger becomes greatness. And let me tell you, when I become great, guess the first place I'm going. Enough said, right? So, Tiger, ooh, look at that tag. Oh, I'm a little hoppy today. Let me tell you this. If you like this video, I got a lot more coming out for you. If you noticed, I recorded this puppy right after my last one. And my last one was actually a couple months ago, okay? I edited this thing on 3 days, I know. I'm a beautiful man. And that's the power of changing environments, okay? So, Tigers, if you guys like this video, if you guys want to, subscribe, I say subscribe. Subscribe, literally, honestly, I'm all about improving. And I guarantee you that if you subscribe to this YouTube channel, you will improve. So subscribe, like, view the other video, because that's a very important part as to why I went to Texas in the first place. You saw all those cool clips, of course. With that being said, Tigers, I hope you guys have a great day. Right, I'm gonna go enjoy this sunny day out here because we don't get this often in Ohio. You might see a couple gloomy more videos coming up, but that being said, I'll see you Guy Tigers in the next one. TinTiger.
So basically, we just got back. It's hot out here. I think it's like 80 something degrees. It was a long trip though. Did a big loop to get to DFW and got lost. Had a lot going on, but we made it though.
Oh,
We made it. He's here.
Gosh, yes,
He's here.
sir.
It's official.
The showstoppers, the main events are in the game. Okay, let me tell you, round them up, my guy.
Oh my God, we missed. Do it again. Do it again.
You missed that one. You missed that one.
Do it again.
Let's go.
Talking about.
Woo!
Not really me yapping, and then
He just didn't get it.
The
I was just standing there like, yeah. I had to get on the phone, you know, like you don't